3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. It's Andy Anderson and Ike Allen. Welcome to Prosperity Class number 2. We are so excited to have you here today. And, we're going to dive into a lot of great content today, And just like the last live class last week, we're going to open it up to questions after we go through all this content. So if you have questions while we start diving into this amazing content, just please post them in the Facebook group and we will get to those questions near the end of the call. So let's see, without further ado, we hope you've had an awesome week, great week of prosperity and applying the ROI process tool that we introduced you to last week. So we're really excited to hear about how that went for you. Hear your breakthroughs. We'd love to hear, how you've started applying that process to any financially limiting thoughts or beliefs you've uncovered and what results have you created as a result of that. So we can't wait to hear from you. So even if you don't have a question throughout this, if you have anything to share at all, any revelation you had this week, any results you created, anything at all, or challenges you had or anything, just share it in the group and we will definitely address it near the end of the call. And just a friendly reminder, again, you signed up for this program in order to get coached, right? So these live coaching calls are a big part of that. And another big part of that is the group coaching, right? It's in the Facebook group. So dive into that Facebook group. When you have questions, if you have concerns, if you're applying the process tool in your life and you need some help, post it in the group and Ike or I or both of us will get back to you. And or other group members get back to each other, help each other out and help, run through this together. You're part of a safe, like-minded community of people all looking for the same thing. And all that being said, if you prefer private messaging us, that's great too. So private message us on Facebook and we're here for you over the next, 4 weeks to answer whatever questions you have. So private message us. And if we're not friends on Facebook, I mentioned this last week, just go ahead and message us anyways, and we'll be paying attention to those messages either way. So let's get rolling. Is there anything you'd like to say, Mike Allen?
It's great to be here. It's great to be here for another fabulous weekend filled with prosperity and possibility.
That's right. So I wanted to do just a quick recap of last week's class. So I'm assuming most of you have watched last week's class, but if you haven't, if you missed it or you're tuning in late, it is posted in the Facebook group and it's also been posted in the newsletters I've been sending out. So make sure to listen to that because we dove into a very important topic called the ROI process tool last week, which is also called the return on investment tool. Right? And we put this at the beginning of this entire 4-week program for a reason, to get you guys started in practicing this cornerstone tool of our teachings in prosperity into your life to start actually creating results for yourself. So again, we'd love to hear breakthroughs around that near the end of the call. Share in the Facebook group. We love to hear about all of that. But that's what class 1 was all about. So today, we're going to dive into some other content. So we're going to dive into a lot of content that's going to help make the ROI process tool even easier to use. We're going to dive into concepts that really make this tool make even more sense to you. And it'll help you understand how your mind works and how when we become aware of our minds and how they work and how they generate, prosperity generating thoughts in addition to financially limiting thoughts, we get to see how does that all work and how do we focus on one and the other and how do we become aware of all this stuff? How does it all work? So that's really what we're going to dive into today. And we're going to talk a lot about something called the truth. Now, in the ROI process tool, as you remember from last week, it's all about telling the truth, right? The first step of the process is what you tell yourself, something disempowering that you tell yourself that is not true, right? It's actually a lie you've been telling yourself, something that's sneaky or misleading, but it's not actually true for you. And the next step of the process is to tell the truth about it. So today is all about truth, and it's really exciting. So we're going to uncover some really interesting truths about the truth. So let's start first with what we like to call empowering thoughts, right? Financially empowering thoughts. Well, what are these? These are the thoughts that we say make you healthy, happy, prosperous, successful people. That's what empowering or financially empowering thoughts are. And these are really thoughts that just help you be the best you that you can be in your life, right? These are thoughts that produce for you the best case scenario life you could possibly live, the most prosperous, wealthy, rich, fulfilling life that you could live. That's what, paying attention to and generating empowering thoughts and choosing empowering thoughts can do for your life. It can create an amazing quality of life for yourself. And when you have these empowering thoughts, or when you create these empowering thoughts, they leave you feeling certain ways. That's the amazing thing about thoughts and beliefs and things coming into our head, right? If we have a financially empowering thought of how great we are at making money, or how confident we are in our ability to become more prosperous, then this thought can leave you feeling more confident, right? Can leave you feeling happy and excited and passionate. So those are empowering thoughts. Here are just some examples as it relates to money, right? What are some empowering thoughts as it relates to finances, right? It could be, making money comes easy to me. I am good with money. I am willing to learn and practice new skills that will bring me greater prosperity. When I don't know how to do something, I can and will ask for help. These are all great examples of empowering thoughts. How about this one? I am confident in my ability to experience greater and greater prosperity, even when that means I'll be out of my comfort zone and or challenged. Now, this is a big one, because as any of us grow in life, as any of us expand in life, we're going to be challenged, right? That's the whole point. You don't grow without being challenged. You don't grow without feeling some ouch, right? We talked about the ouch factor last week. We don't grow if we're, safe is actually, there's a speaking coach named Doug Stevenson, and he has a great line. It's safe is a very dangerous place to be, something like that. I could have paraphrased there. But I think
you're pretty close.
It's pretty close, right? And Doug nailed it, right? This is an amazing thought to have, right? It's safe is a very dangerous place to be, because if you're safe, you're not pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. If you're safe, you're not producing greater and greater results, or you're not living in, another thing that actually Mary Morrissey, when we spent time with Mary Morrissey, she talks about living in the increase, right? If we're growing, we're living in the increase. If we're continuing to become more and more prosperous in our life, we're living in the increase. And so that's another way of looking at, right? Like stepping outside your comfort zone. Well, you're living in the increase. You can feel it. You can feel the expansion happening within you when you're living in the increase. Some other empowering thoughts you could look at are, I don't have to be lucky to become financially free. Making money is leading me to financial freedom and quality of life, and it doesn't mean that I'm greedy, right? Because we have a lot of people have stories around, being greedy if we have money. So here's another empowering thought for you. And this relates to the ROI process tool again that we keep mentioning over and over again, based on how powerful this tool is. So if I am consistent applying the ROI process tool in my life and in taking inspired actions, I will continue to experience greater and greater amounts of prosperity. So again, this thought could leave you feeling really excited and energized and ready to take on the world, right? Ready to get out there and take action in your life. Oh. Ike is getting a call from...
Excuse me for 1 second. It's my daughter, and everything stops for that.
Ava is calling Daddy, and this is part of, our life of freedom, right? We have scenarios like this where I can take the reins of whatever we're doing in the business so that Ike can take care of something going on with Ava or Brielle or whatever's happening. Like, this is part of the lifestyle we choose to create and the quality of life we choose to create so that we can have the freedom to be there for our kids when we need to be. So we'll keep going here. We'll keep rolling. So I just introduced, right, empowering thoughts to you. And so empowering thoughts are fabulous, right? This is what we're trying to steer you towards, more and more empowering thoughts. Now, on the flip side of that, we must take a look at the other side, right? We live in a dualistic world. There is black and there is white, right? So let's look at disempowering thoughts. So financially disempowering thoughts, or financially limiting thoughts, these are the thoughts that they actually stand in your way. They get in your way. They block you from making more money. They block you from experiencing greater prosperity flowing into your life. So that's what these thoughts actually do. They put up a brick wall, so to speak, preventing you from experiencing greater and greater prosperity. Now, just like empowering thoughts might make you feel emotions and feelings of confidence and excitement and happiness, disempowering or financially limiting thoughts can leave you feeling all sorts of things we might perceive as negative, right? They can make you feel discouraged or doubtful in your ability to succeed or fearful, all of these things, right? Those are disempowering thoughts. Now, here are some common disempowering thoughts. So I'm too busy. I don't have enough time, right? This is a very disempowering thought in that if you're too busy and you don't have enough time, if that's what you believe, how are you ever going to get the life that you really want, right? If you can't, break outside the box or look outside your shell in order to getting what you want and realizing that you do have time. It's just a matter of, finding that time, carving out that time in order to prioritize what it means to you to be wealthy, to be prosperous, whatever that is. Here's another common disempowering thought as it relates to money. I'll only ever make enough to get by, but not much more. Now, this is the thought that plagues, right, so much of our society. It's all about living paycheck to paycheck for so many people, right? And maybe this is you. Maybe this is one of those thoughts that you need to apply the process to. So that's why we're talking about this. This is a really very common way of thinking is I only have so much and not much more, right? I'm scraping by. Every month I just get by, but there's not much more. So this is how we're going to help you break free from those patterns by learning about what these thoughts are and becoming aware of them. Here's another thought. I'm not good with money. Or I don't deserve to be successful. Another huge, very common disempowering thought. I don't deserve to be successful, right? Or I have failed time and time again, so why should it work for me now, right? Very, very common. And think about these thoughts as it relates to you right now, right? Think about how this relates to you in your personal life. Are you having these thoughts? Have you ever experienced these thoughts? These are very common things. You're not alone, right? We're all part of the same human condition, right? It's just how we choose to start viewing our thoughts, which is how we can break free from these patterns. Perhaps making more money means working more hours, right? Another very common thought is I have to, work my life away and miss out on a quality of life in order to make money. Wealthy people are unhappy or they're greedy, or maybe my financial situation is just fine the way it is. It doesn't need to improve, right? I don't want to step outside of my comfort zone, right, and live in the increase in order to improve my quality of life. So those are all just examples of financially disempowering or financially limiting thoughts. All right, so now remember, if you listen to the first class, I talked about the number one thing you need to be more prosperous. Do you remember what that was? Right, we talked about this, and the number one thing you need to be more prosperous is to simply be aware of your thoughts. Just simply be aware of your thoughts. That is the number one most important thing. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So as you start to uncover and become aware, shine the light of awareness on the disempowering thoughts that you experience having, you have the opportunity for so many amazing things. You have the opportunity to turn those thoughts around and discover brand new ways of thinking, right? You have the opportunity to take truly inspired actions that lead to truly prosperous results. So here's a question that we are often asked, right? It's like, why not just focus on the positive, right? Why not just focus on the positive thoughts? Why, yes, I get it. I have negative thoughts, but I just want to focus on the positive. Like if I focus on the negative, I'll just bring in more negative in my life. Now, it's true if you are, only thinking about negative things and that's all you're doing, right? And you're wrapped up in that, absolutely, right? The law of attraction, you're going to attract more negative things, more negative thoughts, all of that. However, in order to break free from that negative thinking or from that financially limited thinking, you need to be aware that it's happening, right? So the reason why we say don't just focus on the positive thoughts or just positive affirmations, right, or positive self-talk, it's because you need to actually recognize the negative, or else it's going to run in the background of your mind continuously. You might be totally unconscious to it, but it will run you, and that's where people are in this rat race, right, in this hamster wheel, something you might have experienced in your life, or maybe you're experiencing right now, but you can't get out of it because you can't figure out what's going on. Well, it could be said that there's a lot of financially disempowering or limiting thoughts that are ruling the roost for you in your life. You're just not aware of them yet. So we need to become aware of them. That is why it's so important. So which thoughts are true, right? I said that we're going to talk a lot about truth in this call today. So when you have the experience of thinking a thought, right? It comes into your head, right? You have this experience of thinking a thought. Here's the thing. Here's the really exciting news. It doesn't mean that whatever you just thought is actually true. It doesn't mean it's true. So in the real magic is actually getting this and knowing that when you have the experience of thinking a thought, you personally get to choose whether you believe that thought is true for you or not. So this is really exciting news. Now, you may have heard this stuff before, right? But if you're still struggling financially, you're still just not quite sure how to get out of that hamster wheel, you're not producing results, perhaps you haven't focused enough of your awareness on this fact, on this concept, right? And you need to take another look at it. So that's what we're going to do today. So you have the power to choose which thoughts are true for you. So let's go back to a disempowering thought example, right? I don't deserve to make a lot of money. Very common thought in the human condition. So ask yourself right now, if this is something you've experienced, or maybe you haven't, but it's similar to something you've experienced, is this thought really true? Like, really take a look at this, start to question it. Is this thought really true? And if you really sit with it, you will know the answer. Of course it's not true. It doesn't matter who you are. It's what you're saying is not true. I don't deserve to make a lot of money. Well, that's not true, right? So you have the choice to believe that thought is true for you. And guess what? If you do believe that that thought is true for you, well, here's the truth. You don't deserve to make a lot of money, and so you won't make a lot of money, right? Because you decided, you chose to believe that that thought that just came into your head was true for you. And so then, of course, what you're going to experience is exactly what that thought is. Well, you don't deserve to make a lot of money, so you don't make a lot of money. So that's the reality of how impactful and important and powerful our thoughts are. I mean, it's totally amazing. I get very excited about talking about this because I remember when I first started realizing this, when I first started recognizing, like, wait a second. So you mean to say that, the things that I'm experiencing thinking, they're not true unless I say they're true, or I get to choose which ones are true? Like, wow, that was a massive aha moment for me. This is stuff that Ike taught me years ago when we first met, and I had zero experience in the world of personal development, financial development, entrepreneurship, or any of that. And him shedding light on this, I was like a kid in the candy store. It was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So let's go back to which thoughts are true, right? So here's an empowering thought example. Here's an example of an empowering thought around money. I am confident in my ability to generate revenue. Wow, that's a very empowering, financially empowering thought. So now ask yourself this question. Is this really true, right? We're now looking at a financially empowering thought, but is it actually true? So there's two answers to this question. One answer is, this thought is true for you if you choose to believe it's what's true for you. Answer number two, this thought is not true for you if you choose to believe it's not true for you. So it's very simple. It's very simple and amazing to get this. So which thought is really true? Is it the disempowering thought about money, or is it the financially empowering thought? Which one is true? So the simple answer to this is whatever thought that you alone personally choose to believe is what's true for you. A lot of people have probably heard this quote, right? If you think you can do a thing or you can't do a thing, you're right. Henry Ford. I'll say it again. If you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you're right, no matter what. So it's all in your mind. It's all in that frame of mindset that you're in that this stuff happens. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary to get it. So let's dive deeper into this stuff about truth, right? Truth is totally subjective, right? You probably get that by now, right? Like, truth is completely subjective. It's all up to you. And that's the powerful thing to get. It's totally up to you what you believe. And you can't create someone else's truth, and no one can create your truth for you. It's all right here. It's all 100% your responsibility to choose what's true for you. And you get to choose whether you want to believe in thoughts that are going to financially bring you prosperity or not, right? And the same goes for any area of your life. You get to choose whether you believe thoughts that are going to, bring more love and affection in your romantic relationships or whatever it is. This applies to anything in your life. So let's take an example around money again, obviously, as we continue to talk about prosperity, right? So let's take a woman named Jennifer. She thinks, so she has a thought that it's easy to make money. Right? This is her thought process. This is her pattern. It's easy to make money. And because she believes this thought, she actually truly chooses to believe this thought, She makes a lot of money and she's really prosperous in her life. And this money allows her to enjoy great quality of life, financial freedom, time freedom. She gets to do all the things that she wants to do because she believes it's easy to make money. Now let's take the flip side of this. Let's take someone named Peter, right? Peter thinks it's hard to make money, right? This is the thought that he chooses to believe. And because of this, because of his belief in the thought that it's hard to make money, he makes the bare minimum in his side business, right? And this is a business he'd really like to build. He's really passionate about it. And he wanted to make it into his full-time business, but because he believes in the thought that it's hard to make money, he has to keep his 9-to-5 job that he doesn't particularly care for, or maybe he hates it, right? Because he just hasn't broken free from this thought of it's hard to make money. He's still choosing to believe in it. So can you relate to this? Is this something that you can relate to? Again, any example I give you on these calls, just take it back to your life. Take it back to your life, or maybe you see this in some of your friends and have that reflect back on you, because this is all about your journey to prosperity. So here's a question. Is it easy to make money, or is it hard to make money? This is the question you should ask yourself right now. So who's right? In those two examples I gave you, Jennifer and Peter, right? Who's right? Who has the right thought? Like, which one is actually true? And so here's the thing once again. The reality is that both ways of thinking are true, and neither way is true. So that's the bottom line about all of this. And again, I stress that, we're diving deeper into this topic of truth, because applying the ROI process tool, which again we introduced you to last week, is all about uncovering truth. It's all about taking something you tell yourself in the first step, right? I tell myself something that's not true. I tell myself I don't deserve to make a lot of money, and tell the truth about it. What is the empowering truth that you're going to tell about it that's going to help you create more prosperity in your life, right? What is that truth? All right, so what you think and believe to be true is a totally personal experience. Again, truth is completely subjective. So the thoughts that you choose to believe, they're totally up to you. And so what's true for you might not be true for somebody else, right? That's why there's certain people that no matter what level of education, of background, of money they grew up with, whatever, they come to be like multi-bajillionaires, right? And then there's the person that grew up with a different storyline, but they may have had all the opportunities in the world given to them, and money and supportive parents and whatever, but they've chosen to believe that they're not worth it. Then they're not going to create those results that this person did. So it's totally a personal experience. So again, the example of Jennifer, right? Money's easy to make, right? This is her thought. And so this is her prosperity generating thought that she lives by. She lives this truth, and therefore that is what she experiences. The results come as a result of that truth for her. Peter, on the other hand, money is hard to make. And because he chooses to believe this thought, this financially disempowering thought, he doesn't create those results. He is not happy. He can't break free from the 9-to-5 job that he doesn't like, simply because he hasn't broken free from the belief that it's hard to make money. So why are you here, right? It's always good to come back to, why are you here? Why did you sign up for this program? What is it that you're looking to accomplish here? Right? So perhaps more than likely, right, you signed up for this because you're interested in reaching a greater level of success in your life. You want more money, you want a greater quality of life, whatever it is. Now, you might not be getting the results that you'd like to get, more than likely, or you probably wouldn't be here. And you probably want that to change, right? That's probably why you're here. You want to experience change. So let's uncover what change really is. We talked a little bit about this in the last call, but let's dive a little deeper. So let's talk about the process by which virtually all change occurs in life. And this is very simple. Okay, so, and this might remind you again of the ROI process tool that we introduced you to last week. So how in the world do human beings change? How do we change? So this is a very simple three-step process. We recognize, number one, there's something in our life we don't like, right? We want it to be different. We want something to change. Number two, we acknowledge what this has been costing us in our life and what the impact has been, or the ouch that we talked to you about last week. And number three, we take action to make a change. So it's very simple. This is how change occurs, right? This is how transformation happens in your life. This is like what we call how life works. It's very simple. This is how life works. So let's take an example. Again, try to relate this example back to you in your scenario. Maybe this is something you're going through right now or something that you've dealt with in the past, but relate it back to your scenario. So let's say a woman named Olivia. She one day finally admits after years that she hates her job and she wants to be her own boss. She wants to be an entrepreneur. And so that's step number one. Step number two is she tells her husband that this has just been eating away at her. She feels angry at work. She feels like she's wasting her life and she's not passionate, right? That's step number two. Step number three, by being honest about how she really feels, this allows her to start feeling inspired to take actions, like exploring what kind of business she wants to start, right? Talking to some of her entrepreneurial friends and brainstorming with them, joining a few networking groups, right? Planting the seeds to when she actually becomes an entrepreneur and makes that change. She's starting to make the change right now. So again, she went through these three steps. She recognized what was true for her, that she hated her job. She wanted to be her own boss, right? Number two, she admitted how it had made her feel, what it had been costing her, right? Anger, and she was not passionate. And then she started taking actions, right? To actually restore integrity with herself and what she really wants, right? Restoring integrity with herself and her aspirations and her dreams in life. Number three. So if you take a look at your life right now, as you listen to this, you'll probably notice that it might take a little bit of exploring, but you'll notice that whenever you've made any kind of change in your life, you went through these three steps. You may not have been aware that you were going through these three very basic steps, but you went through these three steps. And it's not that it happens overnight, right? Sometimes it could be months and years of something that's making you unhappy for you to get to the point of finally admitting that it's making you unhappy, feeling that ouch of what it's done, really done to you and the impact has been on you, and then start taking actions to make change. So again, this is the process by which virtually all change in human beings' lives occurs. So here's something that, when we talk to people about this, people are like, well, okay, so this is so simple, right? So if change is so simple, this process seems very simple, right? There's 1, 2, 3 steps, right? So darn simple. Why don't more people change? Right? You might be asking yourself this right now. Why don't more people change, right? Why don't more people pursue their dreams? Like those dreams that they had when they were kids that they always wanted to do and then they never did them. Why don't people do that? Why don't more people do that? Lots of people do, and then a lot of people don't. Why is change so hard for me? Maybe you're asking yourself. Or why is it so difficult for me to achieve a greater level of success and prosperity? So I'm going to tell you why. The answer you've been waiting for. So the reason it's so hard, or it occurs as so hard, or so really rare in today's society that people are actually truly living into their dreams and what lights them up is because of this. Because we as human beings, we are extremely good at misleading ourselves. We are really awesome at tricking ourselves when we don't want to face what's true for us. Okay, so we are very good at falling out of integrity with ourselves and what we truly want. We might have dreams and we think we're going to do them, and then we start telling ourselves things, financially disempowering things like, oh, that's actually not really important to me to pursue that dream. Or, oh, I'll do it someday, right? I'm too busy now, or I don't have the skills, or I don't have the education or whatever, but I'll do that later, right? So, experience this with me. A lot of us, right, well, every single human being has had this experience, whether you're aware of it or not, at totally really misleading and tricking yourself into not pursuing your dreams, into not making that extra money, into not taking that extra vacation. This is what the human mind does. So the human mind, it's a very sneaky little thing. And now it totally serves our good in so many ways, right? If we walk in front of a bus, it tells us, get back, you're about to get hit by a bus and get flattened, right? It's our human mind that tells us these things, right? So that we don't hurt ourselves, so we don't get killed, right? But all that being said, it helps us in so many ways and protects us in so many ways, but it also protects us by believing in thoughts and stories that disempower us in our lives, to keep us within that comfort zone, like I was talking about before, to avoid things that we don't want to deal with. And it's pretty, when you really get clear on this, when you really start to see that this is what's happening in your mind and my mind and everyone's mind here. It's pretty amazing. It's an amazing creation, our mind. And the first step in breaking free from all the disempowering thoughts that your mind is producing through you in a given day is just to become aware, just to start becoming aware of how your mind works. All right, so as you become more aware of how your mind works, you're going to have the opportunity to recognize these areas of your life where you're out of integrity with yourself, or your dreams or aspirations, and how you can restore that integrity for yourself. So take a look at that right now. What dreams or aspirations have you had for years, but like you stopped paying attention to them? You never pursued them, but they were there for so long, and maybe then they got quieter and quieter and quieter, right? Because your mind may have gotten louder and louder and louder, telling you all the reasons why you can't do it, why you shouldn't do it, why now's not the right time, or whatever it is. So your thoughts truly actually become your physical experience in life. And here's the thing to get. This is the ouch, right, that we all need to get when we're on the journey, right, of creating greater and greater prosperity. Here's the thing. Your entire life and your current state of your finances, like right now, whatever money is in the bank, however much cash you have, however much debt you have, however much money you have or you don't have, this is all a result of the thoughts you have chosen consciously or unconsciously to live into. Right? All of the choices you've made in your mind, consciously or unconsciously, whether you knew you made them or not, have led to where you are today. So here's the thing. Here's another really exciting thing to get about thoughts. We all experience an enormous amount of thoughts in any given day, but it's important to recognize that you are not your thoughts. Right? So just sit with this for a second. You are not your thoughts. This, again, when I first started learning about this stuff, when I met Ike years ago, I was just blown away by this. I mean, it was the freedom that I experienced getting that I am not my thoughts, right? I could have thoughts that I would, judge as bad and wrong and horrible and something I would never share with anybody else, right? Of course, we've all had these thoughts, right? But when I got that, this is actually not who I am, or I can choose to not let this be who I am or act out these thoughts, then it's just, there's amazing, amazing freedom in that. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. Speaking of amazing freedom,
all right.
Even on the calls, the opportunity to be free to sneak
Yes.
away when your 8-year-old daughter really needs you.
Good.
Freedom.
Freedom. I know. I was telling them about that after you left. How's Ava doing?
She's doing great. She's doing great. She's doing great. But she had important things to share, and she had important things to share. I like to have the freedom to listen to those important things that she wants to share. So, my children are super important, and that's the reason to do this kind of stuff, especially for me, is to have that financial freedom to be able to sneak out when an 8-year-old has important things to share.
That's right.
Yeah.
8-year-old important things to share are awesome things to listen to also.
Certainly are.
All right, so we're talking about thoughts here. We're talking about, right, how we are not our thoughts, right? And the freedom that comes in knowing this and actually getting that we are not our thoughts, even though we experience this whole, enormous amount of thoughts in any given day. We are not our thoughts. There's a lot of peace that can come with actually getting this for yourself.
Well, wait, then who are we if we're not our thoughts?
Well, that's a good question. Perhaps we're, whatever we want to become.
Like the thoughts we choose
to
make be who we are.
Maybe that's it.
That's a great concept.
Yeah, he's a smart guy over here.
Yeah. Like I'm someone who's poor, as opposed to choosing to believe the thought I'm someone who is wealthy.
Exactly.
And then suddenly that's who I am.
That's it.
Because I choose to believe that.
That's it.
That's crazy talk.
Like, for example, let's talk about Ava for a second, because, I just hopped on a call with Ava. When she was like 4, she had a current experience when she was 4 that she was afraid of dogs, right? And I will never forget this.
Right.
We went over to the neighbor's house, and the neighbor had a black lab, or super sweet dog.
Big dog for a 4-year-old.
Yeah, big, huge dog, right? And she was afraid of dogs. And so we went over there, and she was very timid, and she was, hanging on to us and very afraid of the dogs. And Ava and I walked back to our house to get something. And on the way back across the street to go back to the neighbor's house, she just told me, she's like, I've decided I'm no longer afraid of dogs. Yeah. Right? And like, that was it. And Ava to this day is not afraid of dogs. She's 8 now. She has never been afraid of dogs since, because Ava, at the age of 4, made a choice in that moment to no longer be afraid of dogs.
Yeah, it was a pretty fast transition. I mean, when she first got back, she was a little sort of feeling out like, does this really work? Can I just shift how I view things? But it wasn't long before she was like, oh, this dog's cool, and so now I'm going to play with it. You know, she was still a little standoffish from the perspective that it's big. She was worried about getting knocked over, but she wasn't just automatically afraid. She shifted that paradigm and started living right into it, right? And she didn't have all the past. She didn't have 40 years of, oh, I've been telling myself I'm afraid of a dog. So she had, you know, a year or two of telling herself via language that maybe she was afraid of dogs. And she, ran it over in seconds and created that new thought system.
So that's inspiring. So take that inspiration, right? And again, like when you're a child, you haven't created and built up all these stories in your head yet, right? Where most of us, when we get older, have all this stuff to uncover and to let go of and to work through, right? But that there is the possibility of looking at the childlike mind, right, is to be able to shift something just like that. Right. And that's the opportunity. I'm not saying it's going to happen that fast for you. However, keep applying that process, keep applying the ROI to all these thoughts, and it just gets faster and faster. The results you create become faster and faster. Right? What is the thing you used to say in the LEAP seminars about the momentum accelerator? Yeah,
the quantum momentum accelerator. The more you do it, the faster and faster it starts to happen. So the more you practice that new way of being or that new way of thinking, the faster and faster you practice it, actually the faster and faster opportunities appear to present themselves to you, to challenge you and invite you to keep practicing it. And so it's going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster until, right, just like anything that we eventually know how to do so well, we don't really think about it. It's that process. We don't really think about it. It becomes muscle memory. It becomes habit, right? My habitual way of thinking is everything's an opportunity for more wealth in my life, or everything's an opportunity to see the positive, or everything's an opportunity for opportunity. So the more you practice it, the faster those opportunities seem to come at you, and the faster opportunities, the opportunity to look at it differently and opportunities for success, they just come faster and faster. Could you imagine if we could take advantage of every entrepreneurial business opportunity that came at us in the course of a week?
Oh yeah.
It would be beautiful. It occurs as sometimes, let's say, overwhelming or whatever. It would be miraculous. There's so many opportunities to choose from. It's amazing.
And that's another great, piece. We're kind of on a side note here, but this is really important. Like, that's the importance of like community networks. Mm-hmm. Whether you have a job, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're a bit of both, right? Like, the more people that you meet, the more people you network with, the more people you brainstorm with, you bounce ideas off, or you hop on a Skype call or a Google Hangout and chat with them about ideas. Like that, the opportunities just keep coming and coming and coming until, right, one of them sticks, one of them feels like this is it, this is something to pursue, and you start going after it.
Yeah, my experience, and everybody's different, everyone needs to find their own truth. And my experience was when I was hiding out behind the scenes, just like getting done by teachers and coaches and stuff, and not really jumping in and being interactive in it and working with other people in the group. My experience was there wasn't a lot of momentum. But when I started, being vulnerable and pushing myself out there and sharing things that were there for me, or being vulnerable and asking for help and support, things started going faster and faster. The more vulnerable I became, the more I started sharing out in community. It's sort of like everyone can see that the ouch factor occurs as the most challenging aspect of it, but it's when we put ourselves out there and share, our vulnerabilities that, people are there. People aren't like, that's right, you're a dirtbag, and how dare you have thoughts that, fill in the blank, right? But people are really the way most of the time people come around and they say, wow, I too have felt like that. I totally get it. I want to support you. Let's work together to move something forward. There will always be the haters. There'll always be the blame game people, but most people, for every one email that we get saying, you guys suck, and why isn't everything free, and everything should be about money, everything has to be about money, and why don't you just give all your stuff away, for everything we get like that, we get 1,000 people that say it was a great value, or thank you so much for creating this stuff in the world and showing me that I too can do it. So there will always be haters, but most people, when you're vulnerable, are like, hey, I've been there too. So maybe we can work together to make this happen. Maybe we can grow together.
Yeah. And it's so exciting to be able to do that too. And you start building your network of people that you really like your prosperity buddies with, is another, way of looking at it, right? Like you create these buddies in your life, these, friends, these colleagues, whatever you want to call them, right? And just, keep compounding on your prosperity. It's awesome.
If you're hiding out behind the scenes, I mean, it's great if that works for you, but you may want to consider pushing yourself out there and getting more involved in being with other people. That's what the whole idea of the Facebook group is. That's what the whole idea of masterminds are, partnerships. I get way more done. We get way more done when we have deadlines with other partners. It's like, oh, next Tuesday we get on the phone with that couple because we're working on this. We get way more done because people are holding us accountable. And if we just hide out and do it all ourselves, nobody's really holding us accountable.
Yep. Yes.
We can just veg out and, watch Netflix or something, watch a cartoon on Netflix. So when we have other people in our lives, they help us stay motivated, stay accountable.
So you can look at us as your accountability, prosperity buddies, right? Like, because we're going to give you a little inspiring homework to do after this next class, before the next one, to keep you in the flow of practicing this process of starting to, interject into the group and start getting these conversations rolling, because the more you get the conversations rolling, the more you feel accountable, right, to your own growth, because you put it out into the world, and the more other people are helping you hold yourself accountable to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Okay, so I'm going to get back on what I was talking about.
Get on course. Do not let me knock you off course.
No, it's good. We like that. So again, you are not your thoughts. That's where we were. We're talking about how you are not your thoughts. Now, you are not your thoughts unless you continuously entertain those thoughts, and then you become them, and then you see them manifest in your life. And the good news is, the really, really awesome news is you get to choose which thoughts you entertain, and thus you get to choose your own reality. So it's all up to you. You hold all the cards, you have all the power, you're the one who gets to make that choice. So when you have a thought, for example, here's like a financially disempowering thought. I'm all alone and I have to build my business without help from anybody else.
Horrible thought. Horrible, lonely, uninspiring.
So you have the opportunity in this moment, when you experience having this thought, to entertain it and to believe it, right? And to go down the path of whatever that looks like for you, right? Being lonely and not getting nearly as much created in the world, because you're playing into that thought, you're believing it. Or you have the opportunity to just let that go. Or you have the opportunity to replace it with a thought that empowers you. Like, for example, I am surrounded by people that want to help me make money, and I can help them make money.
I like that thought. I am going to choose that one. I like that one.
Right? That's the powerful thought. That's the financially empowering thought. So another way to look at thoughts, because again, all of this stuff, all of the ROI process tool begins with thought, right? It begins with, I tell myself X, and whatever I tell myself is a thought, right? So that's why we just keep going into this. So you could look at thoughts as you're constantly surrounded by them, right? That's another way of looking at it. They're just spinning around your head and his head and our heads, right? Like all day long. We're all human beings on this earth, and we have these thoughts just spinning around us at every given moment of every day. And none of them are yours until you choose to make them yours, right? So you might grab a hold of one thought for a little while, and then you could let it go and grab a hold of something else, right? But none of them are yours unless you personally make that choice to make it yours. Now, a question that we often get when we talk about thoughts as it relates to money is, well, how do I control my thoughts, right? So I'm surrounded by all these thoughts. So how do I control them? Because what I want to get rid of all the financially limiting thoughts, right? And throw them over here. And I want to only have these thoughts that are financially empowering, right? I want to be able to control them. Well, here's the thing. You can't control the thoughts that are surrounding you. You just can't, right? We have no control over what's spinning around in the universe, what's popping into our heads and what's not. We don't have control over that. But what we do have control over is what we choose to believe, right? So if we, have the experience of a financially disempowering thought, like, I don't deserve to be successful, you have control in that you can choose to believe that, or you can choose to throw that away and let that go and replace it with something like, I'm awesome and I'm going to create financial wealth for myself, right? So that's where you have the experience of that choice, of that control in your financial freedom, right? but you can't control what's coming in. Again, none of those thoughts are yours. They don't have your name tag on them, right? Until you choose to make them your own, whether it's disempowering or whether it's empowering. So here's another question, right? And you may have heard this before, you know, in the world of law of attraction and thoughts becoming things and all of that, right? So how do thoughts, right? Something that has no form, right? We can't like draw a picture of a thought. There's no physical form for a thought, right? It's just something we experience having. So how do these thoughts actually transform into the physical experiences we have in our lives, right? How does a thought that passes through your head transform into how much money you have in the bank, right? How in the world does this work? So here's how this works. It works like this. You have a thought, right? And then you get to choose, you get to make a choice whether or not you want to believe that thought, right? That's the very beginning of it. You experience a thought, it comes from wherever, right? You choose whether you want to believe it or not. That belief will then inspire you to take actions or not take actions, and then you get a result. So that's really how the stepwise process of a thought becoming a result actually happens. Now, so let's take an example. And again, as I mentioned with all the other examples, try to see yourself in this example. How does this relate to you in your life, right? So let's say a woman named Susan, she has a thought that I'm going to make double the amount of money this year as I did last year in my internet marketing business, let's say. So Susan, she has this thought, right? And she can choose, she makes the choice to believe this thought's true for her, right? Again, nothing's true, right? We already went through this. It's, you know, it's all completely made up. Whatever is true is what you want to be or what you choose to be true for you. So she chooses this empowering thought to be true for her. And so because she chooses to believe it, she then becomes inspired, right? By inspiration, by intuition to actually put this into reality for herself, right? She starts joining networking groups. She starts creating a mastermind of a group of people that can help support one another in becoming more successful. She starts, you know, doing things online to build her newsletter list, whatever it is. And guess what? At the end of that year, she experiences the result, the physical form world result of making twice as much money as she did last year, right? So that is a prime example of how one person can take a financially empowering thought and actually turn it into a result in your life. Now, let's take the same person. This is important to get. This is the same person who has the exact same thought. Okay, so Susan, once again, she has this thought, I'm going to make double the amount of money this year as I did last year in my internet marketing business. Okay, so now, as opposed to the last example, this is where she chooses not to believe this thought is true. Okay, so this is her choice point. Susan makes this choice. She's like, no, this isn't true for me. And she goes on to take no specific inspired actions because she didn't believe in that thought, right? So she wasn't inspired to take actions to ensure that she did double her money, you know, in the given year. And so the result she gets is she didn't do it. She didn't, you know, she made the same amount as she did last year, right? Or she didn't increase her income this year. So that's really it. It's a very simple process. And if you take a look at your life, you'll see, right? Like, how often have you had thoughts like that? Like, you could call them inspirations or something from your intuition where you have a great idea. Maybe you have $1 million idea, or someone else has a great idea, but you don't, you know, pursue looking into that with somebody, right? Those are those, you know, $50 bills flying through the air, which is an analogy Ike likes to talk about, by the way, right? That someone's not grabbing hold of. So that's all based on your choice to not believe, right? That that's true for you, that could be true for you, and you could actually do that, right? So in your journey, here's what we invite you to consider. If you're not where you'd like to be financially, and more than likely you're on these calls, right, because you want more, you want to live in the increase, you want to experience greater prosperity. The reason for this is because you probably at many points in your journey have either chosen to believe in disempowering, right, financially limiting thoughts, whether you were conscious of believing those thoughts or not, like you actually had the experience of doing that, of believing in these disempowering thoughts. So you were believing in financially limiting things that you were telling yourself, right? And again, telling yourself is like the first step of the ROI process, is to cover what you tell yourself. Or in your journey, if you're not where you want to be financially, you've chosen to not believe in empowering, prosperity generating thoughts as you've experienced thinking. So just take a look at this in your life right now. Can you think back to experiences you had where you're like, wow, I had a really good idea 5 years ago to, create this mastermind of people and to start like a big real estate business or something, or whatever it is, and you didn't pursue it, right? So that this is just things to be aware of, is when have you had these thoughts, prosperity generating, thoughts that would help you become more and more wealthy? When did you choose to ignore that thought, right? And think that couldn't be true for you? So no matter where you are today financially, again, now is the perfect time. Now is always the perfect time to start applying this ROI process tool if you haven't started already. So apply this tool to these financially limiting things that you tell yourself. And the first step in doing that is starting to pay attention to, right, what you're telling yourself. So pay attention to those thoughts that you experience having. And as you apply this process to your limiting thoughts, tell the truth about them, right? What's true for you? What is the financially empowering truth that's true for you as a result of uncovering something that's financially disempowering? And then create these, financially empowering thoughts and ways of being to live into, and then take action. So after learning what you've learned in today's class, what we've been talking about, ultimately, right, no thought is true. And this is great news, because you have the power to choose what is true for you. And applying this ROI process tool is just going to keep getting easier and easier, because now you have even more of a foundation, right? Last week we talked to you about, here's the nuts and bolts of the process, here are the steps, here's what you need to do. And now you can get an even greater idea of, well, wait a second, right? If I have the power to choose what thoughts I want to believe and live into, wow, like there's a lot of possibility there. And just becoming more aware of, wow, well, I've been choosing to not be aware of my financially disempowering thoughts. So they've been, ruling my life and keeping me poor, keeping me broke, or whatever it is. So this is really good stuff. This is really good stuff to start to really dive into and to start to explore in your life. So I mentioned homework. And I say this because I want you guys to start interacting. I want you to start applying this. Because again, just like Ike said a minute ago, right, if you hide out in the background, right, you don't have anybody holding you accountable. It's much easier to just do the Truth About Prosperity program, whether you're on that path or you're just doing the coaching. It's really easy to just do it in the comfort of your own home with no one watching you, right, and no one holding you accountable. But the opportunity to really, truly step outside of your comfort zone, and that is the opportunity to create even greater financial results for yourself, is to start applying this process and sharing it, okay? So between this call, this is week 2, and next week's prosperity class number 3, we want every single one of you, we encourage you, okay, this is your homework, right, is to share the process in the group, okay? Share the process that you went through you applied it to a financially limiting thought, right? Whatever it is, or even if it's not a financially limiting thought, it's something else that's limiting you in some way in any area of your life. Share it in the group. Share the steps. Go through all the steps of the ROI and share it in the group. Tell us what inspired action you came up with, right? Tell us what new way of being you came up with that you're living into. And again, I know that not everyone is comfortable with that. As much as we recommend, we want you to be able to share in the group and encourage you to share in the group. However, if you don't want to, please at least share with either me or Ike via private message. So that is what we encourage you to do this week. Between this class and the next class, please do the ROI process and apply it to something in your life that you want to change, a disempowering thought, a thought that is not serving you, and go through those steps. And if you need any help, if you're still not quite sure how to do it on your own, if you need help, we are here for you. So post in the Facebook group, private message us, whatever it is, we want you to get this. So we have dived into a lot of material once again today, and I want to open it up now to questions. So I'm going to look and go back to the Facebook page here and see where we're at. And I know a lot of people mentioned they couldn't make this live call today on a Sunday for various reasons. So I'm not sure if we'll have questions, but I'm opening it up to questions right now to either post in the Facebook group here, or if you're instead following us on the Google Hangout, then post in there. And currently I am not getting any questions. But for any of you watching right now that are going to watch the recording of this, because the timing for the live call didn't work out for you, ask your questions after you watch it, whenever that is. Again, write in the Facebook group or private message me and Ike, and we will help you dive into that. Oh, Kai just said thanks again, Andy and Ike. Thank you, Kai. It's good to see you again. So I don't see any questions popping up, so we won't hang on this hangout any longer if there's no questions. But again, put them in the Facebook group. I know we had somebody who actually joined the group late last week and started talking about her breakthroughs in the group, which was really great to hear. So post that stuff, because even if, think about it this way, even if you don't necessarily want to post it for you, or you're a little uncomfortable, think about if you see other people posting, right, you start to see yourself in them. And you start to get excited. Wow, well, Nikki just created these results for her, and Sharon did this, and whatever. So I want to start, posting in this so I can, help other people get it for themselves too. Oh, Kai is typing a question, so I'm going to wait for his question right now. It's amazing what we can do with live technology these days. Someone is typing a question. Here we go. And again, next week's class will likely be on Sunday again, Sunday or Monday. So I'll be posting that in the Facebook group as well as in our newsletter. So just keep your eye on that as far as when the date and time for the next call is. And for people who are doing the Truth About Prosperity program, you're going through the workbook, you're listening to and watching the videos and all of that. If there's anything that comes up with that, or any comments, questions, anything at all with that, please, again, let us know. Kai is writing a question. So we will wait for Kai and move forward with that. I want to mention something really quick, just given that last week, at least in the United States, was our presidential election. And no matter, this is something that comes up a lot, especially as it relates to money. So if you're a person who's, frustrated with, upset with the person that is now in the office and or will be in a couple of months, or whatever, you're not happy with the outcome, just remember this whole program, this is all about taking 100% responsibility, right, for your prosperity. Right? And I think it was Jim Rohn, I can't remember what his quote was, but he talks about, really highly successful man who talked about, right, it doesn't matter who's in that office, all that matters is that I am personally committed to my success, and so I'm going to be successful. So that's something that I encourage you, if you're in any way frustrated, or maybe you're ecstatic, maybe whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but wherever you're at with what's happening, because we've had a lot of people, email us, talk to us about, how, oh, I can't be successful because of X or whatever. Just think of that again as, well, that's just something you're telling yourself, right? We talked with a woman in the group last week about surrounding yourself with people who were in the lack and limited mindset, right? And how it was hard for her to be around that, right? Well, again, it's up to you personally to unearth your personally limiting thoughts and beliefs. And if you're having a thought or belief that it's because of whoever's president or whoever's my neighbor or whoever's whatever, that is why I'm not successful, take a look at that, apply the process to that. Because once you actually reveal what's really true about that, you're going to find, right, the truth about that is, well, wait a second, it's actually all up to me. It's all my personal responsibility and what I choose to be true and what I don't. I am the creator of my own prosperity. So just a little side note. Okay, I'm going to get to Kai's question now. Let's see here. Kai says, there's a Buddhist saying on this topic, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. I got that. Wayne Dyer has a book on change your thoughts, change your life. I got that too. And Kai is still typing his question, so I will wait for his question. Right now, while we wait, it could be a good time to interject into the Facebook group and let us know how you've applied the process this week. Or if you haven't done it yet, if you didn't do it between last class and now, then start thinking about what you could apply the process to. What's like the biggest block you have right now in your journey to prosperity, and how could you start doing that? Apply the process to that, right? Take one of the worksheets in the back of the program if you're doing the program, or get the worksheet that I posted on the Facebook group last week and start typing in it, and just explore what it is you're telling yourself and what's true. Go through all the steps, go through the ouch, come out the other end with that inspired action and that inspired way of being. Okay, Kai says, I know that kind of stuff and I know it works at times, but I wasn't able to do this consistently. Why and what did I not do to make this consistent? I know this kind of stuff. Well, one thing I would say is, a lot of people say this to us, similar to what you're saying, Kai, that, I know this stuff, right? I know that we are what we think, right? I know that if I change my thoughts, I can change my life, right? But if it hasn't worked for you consistently, I would say explore that a little further. I would say that, have you been 100% focused in your awareness on what you've been thinking, and or has there been some unconscious thoughts and beliefs underlying what you've been doing that have not made it consistent for you, right? Like if you're not where you want to be, and I remember, Kai, you were talking about your journey on last week's call, right? I know that you said you've made a lot of money in the past and you've been successful and you're having some challenges now. So what's happened in there, right? What's happened in there to lead you to where you are today? It seems like to me that if the thoughts become things hasn't been consistent enough for you, because it's a law of the universe, right? It's just what is. These things that what I think and what I become becomes the reality I experience. It is what's true, right? It is the law of the universe. So then where are you missing the ball? Is there some area of your life that you have that's unquestioned, right? Is there some area of your life that you haven't taken a look at what you tell yourself, right? So I would, again, and last week I think we mentioned this, is just start applying the ROI process tool to this, right? Maybe it's, I tell myself that, I know that my thoughts become my reality, but the truth is I don't totally believe it. And I'm not saying that's what's true for you, Kai, but try to just look at it. What is that actually true for you? That you're 100% on board with that, but it's not, not working consistently for you. Are you consistent working with it? Are you consistent in anytime you have something disempowering thought go through your head? Are you consistent in questioning that? Are you consistent in shining awareness on that thought to figure out what's going on and where the disconnect is? I'm going to go back to your question here, Kai, and scroll down. What am I missing, even though I know it works at times? Again, same kind of thing. I think that it's the consistency thing. I think it's taking more practice. It could be that you haven't uncovered a blind spot. Like you could have a financially limiting blind spot that you just haven't uncovered yet. And you're in the process of it, right? You're in the process of, wow, well, I've looked at all these areas and I know that it works, but why isn't this being revealed to me yet? And it's patience. And it's like we were talking about and I talked about a few minutes ago, it's the more you apply this tool, it's that quantum momentum accelerator, right? The easier it gets, the more things that you reveal. The more you reveal one disempowering thought about your relationship with money, the next one will come and the next one will come. And the thing is they're blind spots right now, right, Kai, right? You can't see what it is right now. It's something you still need to reveal. So it's just going to take some time and some paying attention. The best and the way that you uncover a blind spot and make it known, right, make it not blind anymore, is to start paying attention to what you tell yourself. So whatever you're still typing right now, what are you telling yourself, right? Is it true? What are you telling yourself? Is it true? Running through that process with everything you tell yourself, question everything you tell yourself and ask yourself, is that true? Like that's the number one recommendation I have. Kai said again, I had a thought that I was like flying a jet and it was out of control and it was spiraling down like in the Top Gun movie. Since then, I have not been able to shake that thought. I know I'm being tested for my patience when I thought, hang on one sec, let me scroll. When I thought I have a lot of patience. Well, here's again, Kai, just like we were talking about today. So you've had a thought, you've experienced having a thought that you're flying a jet and it's out of control, spiraling down, right? So based on what we've talked about today, you are not your thoughts, Kai. right? You are not your thoughts. You have had the experience of having this thought, right? I could have the experience of the exact same thought and then just choose to let it go and not entertain that thought and start, becoming that thought, right? So what I'd recommend for you is to shine awareness on it. Okay, that's the thought that you had. I thought that I had a thought that I was flying like a jet and it was out of control and it was spiraling down, right? So you've had this thought, acknowledge it for what it is and get that you are not your thoughts. You right now in this moment have the power to choose to believe if you're that thought or not, right? Yes, I'm being tested for my patience when I thought I had a lot of patience. So again, it's taking every thought that you have, shining awareness on it, asking yourself, is this really true? Applying the process to it, and rinse and repeat. Again, we mentioned last week this, it's not the most glamorous thing in the world, but this is what consistency is all about, right? Thoughts are becoming your reality every moment of every day. So being consistent in uncovering your disempowering thoughts and telling the truth about them, feeling the ouch factor, creating the new inspired way of being an inspired action will lead you out the other end. It's just consistency and patience, right? It's consistency and patience over and over again. All right, we are going to head out now. And again, if you have any more questions, or Kai, if you continue to have questions, keep asking in the Facebook group, and we will get to them after this call. And again, thank you so much for listening to this, whether you listen to the live or the recording today. And we will see you again next week. I will be posting in the group as far as when the next call is, again, Sunday or Monday of this next week. And we will talk to you again very soon. And I look forward to your homework this week. Share in that Facebook group, apply the process, go through the steps, share it with us, share it with the people in your group, or share it with me and Ike individually in private messaging. We'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you later.